The woman's voice cut through the boutique like a knife, making every head turn. "She doesn't belong here," she hissed at the manager, jabbing her finger toward the young Hispanic woman browsing the elegant dresses. The boutique fell silent. Customers froze mid-conversation, their eyes darting between the accuser and the accused, unsure of what to do or say. But Gabriela Hernandez didn't flinch. She stood tall, her dark eyes steady, as they locked onto the woman who had just humiliated her in front of everyone. Though dressed in simple jeans and a cotton blouse, clothes she had chosen for comfort, not to impress, her dignity remained unshaken. Little did her accuser know, the truth she was about to discover would shatter her smug confidence in an instant. Gabriela had simply wanted to find a dress for her father's upcoming charity gala. At 32, the confident artist with a warm smile and quick wit had finally decided to shop at one of the city's most exclusive boutiques without her father accompanying her. Her father, Miguel Hernandez, was a respected real estate developer who had built his empire from nothing after immigrating to the country 25 years ago. His name graced buildings across the city, but today he was away on business, leaving Gabriela to enjoy what she had hoped would be a peaceful shopping experience. As she ran her fingers along the silk of an emerald gown, Gabriela felt a rare sense of independence. She had always admired the exquisite craftsmanship in high-end boutiques, but had usually visited them with her father's reassuring presence beside her. Today was different. Today she was just another customer, or so she thought. As Gabriela moved through the racks of designer clothing, she failed to notice the pair of eyes tracking her every movement. Mrs. Patricia Whitmore, a regular customer, who carried herself with an air of entitled superiority, had been watching Gabriela since the moment she walked in. To Patricia, Gabriela's casual attire was an affront to the boutique's standards. The simple gold hoop earrings, the minimal makeup, the practical shoulder bag, none of it belonged in a store where dresses cost more than most people's monthly rent. "Look at her," Patricia whispered to another customer, her voice dripping with disdain. "She's probably just here to waste everyone's time." The other woman shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. Patricia's quiet judgment quickly transformed into active hostility. She followed Gabriela through the store, her lips pursed in disapproval, her eyes narrowing each time Gabriela touched an item. When Gabriela selected a stunning red dress and headed toward the fitting room, Patricia's patience snapped. "I bet she's not even here to buy anything," she muttered, loud enough for nearby customers to hear. "They're really letting anyone in these days." Gabriela, still unaware of Patricia's growing hostility, emerged from the fitting room, the crimson dress hugging her curves perfectly. She studied her reflection, imagining herself at the gala, standing proudly beside her father as he announced the foundation's latest initiative. Her moment of joy was short-lived. "That's quite a dress," Patricia said, approaching with a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. Very bold, Gabriela turned, offering a genuine smile. "Thank you, it's for my father's charity event." Patricia's smile faltered. "Are you sure you're in the right store?" she asked, her voice honey-sweet but laced with poison. "This isn't exactly Target." The implication hung in the air, heavy and unmistakable. Gabriela's smile disappeared, replaced by a calm resolve that masked the hurt beneath. "I'm exactly where I need to be," she replied, her voice steady despite the thunder of her heartbeat. Patricia's eyes narrowed. "This store isn't exactly budget-friendly," she said, her gaze flicking dismissively over Gabriela's casual clothes. "Maybe you should try somewhere more appropriate." The word struck like a physical blow, but Gabriela refused to show it. She had encountered prejudice before, but this felt different, more targeted, more cruel, more public. "I'll let my purchases speak for themselves," she said firmly, turning away to hide the flush of anger rising to her cheeks. Other customers had begun to notice the exchange, their whispers filling the boutique like rustling leaves. Gabriela caught sight of the store manager watching from a distance, her expression uncertain. "If you have an issue," Gabriela said to Patricia, her voice calm but firm, "perhaps you should take it up with someone in charge." Patricia's eyes glinted with malice. "Oh, don't worry," she said, turning toward the manager. "I will." The manager, a woman named Claire, who had only worked there for a few months, approached cautiously, her professional smile strained. "Is there a problem?" she asked, glancing between the two women. Patricia didn't hesitate. Yes, there is, she said, her voice rising. I've been watching that woman, and I'm certain she slipped something into her bag. The accusation hung in the air like a thunderclap. Other customers gasped, their eyes now fixed squarely on Gabriela. I haven't stolen anything, Gabriela said, her voice stronger than she felt. That's completely false. But Patricia wasn't interested in denials. Of course you'd say that, she snapped. Why don't you just show us what's in your bag? Claire, visibly uncomfortable, looked between Patricia and Gabriela. Ma'am, she said to Gabriela, would you mind if we— Go ahead, Gabriela interrupted, handing over her bag without hesitation. Her hands trembled slightly, not from guilt, but from the humiliation of being treated like a criminal in front of a boutique full of strangers. Claire searched the bag thoroughly before looking up, her expression apologetic. There's nothing here, she said quietly. Check again, Patricia demanded. She must have hidden it somewhere else. Gabriela reclaimed her bag, the heat of anger and shame burning behind her eyes. I think we're done here, she said, her voice low but clear. Unless you have actual proof, I suggest you stop harassing me. If you have nothing to hide, Patricia said, her voice rising to ensure everyone could hear, then why are you being so defensive? Gabriela took a deep breath, her hands now steady as she faced her accuser. Defensive, she repeated. You accused me of stealing without a shred of evidence. That's not defensiveness, that's self-respect. Claire, desperate to defuse the situation, raised her hands placatingly. Perhaps we should all just take a step back, she began, but Patricia cut her off. People like her don't belong in stores like this, she said, gesturing toward Gabriela. They come in, waste everyone's time, and leave with things that don't belong to them. A hush fell over the boutique. The implication behind people like her was unmistakable. Gabriela's jaw tightened, her resolve hardening with every word Patricia spoke. You're not just wrong, she said, her voice cutting through the tension. You're showing everyone exactly who you are. And it's not a good look. Patricia turned to Claire, her expression demanding action. We don't need troublemakers ruining this place, she said loudly. Ask her to leave. Claire hesitated, looking between Patricia, a known regular who spent thousands each month, and Gabriela, a woman she had never seen before. Business logic, warred with moral integrity. Business won. I think it's best if you leave, she said softly to Gabriela. We don't want any more disruptions. Gabriela stared at Claire in disbelief, the words hitting her like a physical blow. You're asking me to leave, she said slowly. Even though I've done nothing wrong, Patricia's smirk was triumphant as she folded her arms across her chest. See? Always making a scene. Gabriela turned to Patricia, her gaze unwavering. You're only doing this because I'm Latina and I'm not dressed in designer clothes, she said, her voice steady despite the emotion behind it. You should be ashamed of yourself. Patricia scoffed. Don't play the race card with me, she said, dismissively. I'm just protecting the store's reputation. But the damage was done. Several customers were now watching the scene with obvious discomfort, their expressions shifting from curiosity to judgment, not of Gabriela, but of Patricia. Instead of backing down, Gabriela pulled out her phone and dialed quickly. The boutique fell silent as she raised the phone to her ear. Dad, she said, calmly, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. Could you come to Elysian Boutique on 5th? There's a situation here you should know about. Patricia rolled her eyes dramatically. Oh please, she said to a nearby customer. What is her daddy going to do? Threaten to sue? The customer didn't respond, clearly uncomfortable with Patricia's behavior. The call ended, and Gabriela slipped her phone back into her pocket, her expression calm despite the storm raging inside her. She had never wanted to involve her father, had wanted to prove she could handle things on her own, but some battles required reinforcements. The minutes that followed seemed to stretch endlessly. Patricia continued to mutter comments to anyone who would listen, while Claire pretended to busy herself with inventory, avoiding Gabriela's eyes. The other customers remained, riveted by the unfolding drama yet uncomfortable with their role as spectators. Then the unmistakable rumble of a luxury vehicle braking outside caught everyone's attention. Through the boutique's glass front, they watched as a sleek black Mercedes pulled up to the curb. A driver in a suit stepped out first, opening the rear door with practiced precision. From the back seat emerged Miguel Hernandez, his tailored navy suit and commanding presence drawing all eyes. At 55, he carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who had built an empire through sheer determination and vision. His salt and pepper hair and the lines around his eyes spoke of experience, while his stride conveyed unwavering purpose. The boutique fell silent as Miguel entered, his gaze sweeping the room before landing on his daughter. The subtle softening of his features was visible only to Gabriela. "What's happening here?" he asked, his voice calm but carrying an unmistakable authority. Claire hurried forward, recognition dawning on her face. "Mr. Hernandez," she stammered. "We weren't expecting you today." Patricia's expression shifted from confusion to uncertainty as she watched the manager's deferential behavior. "Oh good," she said, stepping forward with renewed confidence. "Perhaps you can help sort this out. This woman has been causing trouble, and I caught her acting suspiciously." Miguel's expression remained neutral as he turned to Claire. "Is this true?" he asked. Claire's discomfort was palpable. "Mrs. Whitmore expressed some concerns," she said, carefully, "but when we checked Miss Hernandez's bag, there was nothing there." "Exactly," Patricia interrupted, her voice sharp. "But that doesn't mean she wasn't planning to take something. People like her are good at hiding things." The words hung in the air, sharp and ugly, as the room fell into stunned silence. Miguel's gaze shifted to Patricia, his eyes narrowing slightly. "People like her," he repeated, his tone deceptively gentle. Patricia faltered momentarily before doubling down. "You know what I mean," she said, with a dismissive wave. "This store is for respectable clients. She clearly doesn't fit the profile." Miguel didn't respond immediately. Instead, he stood in contemplative silence, his gaze moving between Patricia and Gabriela, his face unreadable. The weight of his silence filled the room, making Patricia shift uncomfortably. "This woman you're accusing," he finally said, his voice quiet but carrying to every corner of the boutique, "is my daughter." The stunned silence that followed was broken only by a collective gasp from the onlookers. Patricia's face drained of color, her confident posture crumpling as the implications of her actions crashed down upon her. "Your daughter," she repeated, weakly. Miguel nodded once, his expression unchanged. "Yes," he said, "and more importantly, she's a human being deserving of basic respect, something you seem incapable of offering." Patricia's mouth opened and closed, but no words emerged. Miguel stepped closer to her, his presence suddenly overwhelming. "You judged her by her appearance," he said, his voice calm but carrying an edge that made Patricia flinch. "You assumed she didn't belong because of how she looks and what she wears. You humiliated her publicly based on nothing but your own prejudice." Patricia found her voice, though it trembled. "I didn't know she was your daughter," she said, weakly. "If I had known, that's exactly the problem," Miguel cut in. "You think respect should be based on who someone is related to, not on their inherent dignity as a person." He turned to Claire, his expression hardening. "And you," he said, "instead of protecting a customer from baseless accusations, you asked her to leave. Is that how you treat people in my stores?" Claire paled. "Your stores," she repeated. "Yes," Miguel confirmed, his tone matter-of-fact. "Lysian Boutique is one of 15 retail properties I own in this city. I don't typically involve myself in day-to-day operations, but I make exceptions when my daughter is being discriminated against." The revelation rippled through the boutique. Some customers whispered to each other, while others simply stared in shock. Claire looked as though she might faint. Patricia, desperate to recover, tried one last defense. "I was just trying to protect the store's reputation," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Miguel's laugh was short and without humor. "By targeting my daughter, by making baseless accusations, by embarrassing yourself and this establishment." He turned to the security guard who had quietly entered behind him. "Mrs. Whitmore is no longer welcome in any of my properties," he said calmly. "Please escort her out." Patricia's face flushed crimson as the guard stepped forward. "You can't do this," she protested. "I've been shopping here for years. I spend thousands each month." "Not anymore," Miguel replied simply. Your money doesn't buy you the right to treat others with disrespect. As the guard led a sputtering Patricia toward the exit, Miguel turned to Claire. We'll discuss your future with this company tomorrow, he said quietly. For now, I suggest you close early and reflect on how this situation could have been handled differently. Claire nodded mutely, already moving toward the register to begin clearing out customers. Miguel turned to Gabriela, his stern expression softening into concern. ¿Estás bien, Mia? He asked gently. Gabriela nodded, though her eyes glistened with unshed tears, not of sadness or hurt, but of relief and pride. I'm fine, Papa, she said. Thank you for coming. Miguel placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You handled yourself with dignity, he said. I'm proud of you. As they walked out together, Gabriela couldn't help but wonder how many people faced the same prejudice every day without having a father who owned the store. She made a silent promise to herself, this wouldn't be the last time she stood up against injustice. Her father might have won this battle, but the war against prejudice required many more soldiers, and Gabriela Hernandez was ready to fight.